Welcome to the show. Coming up, the European Truck Racing Championship gets robust in Germany. Sports car racing from one of the world's most famous endurance events, the Spa 24 Hours. Grand Prix winner Nico Rosberg talks to us about Formula One race suit technology. But first to Valencia in Spain as an injured F1 racer gets back behind the wheel. Robert Kubica was once fancied by many as a future Formula One world champion. Then in February 2011 he suffered an horrific rally crash, partially severing his right arm. But now, after 2 years on the sidelines, he's back where he belongs. Kubica recently came to Valencia in Spain to test a 500 horsepower Mercedes DTM car.
I'm feeling much better than last 2 years, but of course before accident I was in better shape, that's for sure. I have big injuries, so there is still a long way to go for my health and my body, but yeah, slowly it's getting better. I have some limitations, but I have driven different cars, and practically if I have enough room in the car, and in DTM car I have, there is no big limitation for my arm, for myself. Of course it's needed time, and definitely it's a long way to go and hard work, but yeah, it's already a good point to be here and to be able to test here in Valencia. This morning was quite tricky because we had just one run with dry conditions, then it came very heavy rain, so we have to stop for a bit, and then we run on wet condition and drying track. Yeah, overall I feel comfortable in the car, which is good, which is always very important, especially if you have short time to adapt. It's very important to have a good feeling and you feeling comfortable in the car, and I hope to enjoy it and have fun. This test is just to get a feeling of the car and to see how it looks and how it's to drive DTM car, and for sure DTM can be an option for me. It depends from different factors and different things, but most important one is that the pace, and I think the performance of myself is good, so that's the most important, and then we'll see.
Kubica will contest the World Rally Championship this year, but hasn't ruled out a future in DTM and maybe even a return to F1.
Of course, would prefer to be here in a F1 car, but you know, you have to do small steps, step by step, and maybe one day I will get the chance and the opportunity to drive again F1 car here in Valencia or in general.
Time for some king-size racing next as the European Truck Racing Championship heads to the Nürburgring in Germany. Amidst the charming scenery of the Eiffel Mountains lies the legendary Nürburgring. Running for more than 14 miles, the Nordschleife is perhaps the most demanding racetrack of all time. And right next to it, the baby Nürburgring, a modern-day Grand Prix circuit. And it's here where we'll see the resumption of the battle for the FIA European Truck Racing Championship. Reigning champion Jochen Hahn comes to his home event as the points leader, but with only the most slender of advantages. Because hot on his heels and just 2 points behind him is Spanish ace Antonio Albacete. And as a former three-time European champion, Albacete is a man who knows what it takes to win. Currently lying third in the standings, Germany's Markus Ostrijk, the 2004 European Super Truck champion, actually started his career as a touring car driver and should feel at home here as a former winner of the Nürburgring 24 Hour. His MKR Renault teammate Adam Lacko is currently fourth in the championship, but there's surely more to come from the 27-year-old Czech, still in search of his first race win of the season. Another Czech driver in the top 5 is former double champion David Vysecki in one of the distinctive Freightliner trucks. Vysecki has won 3 races so far this season, but needs more consistency if he's to climb the table. So at the halfway stage in the championship, it's the defending champion with a narrow advantage over last year's runner-up Albacete. Ostrijk is within striking distance, but despite 12 visits to the podium this year, is another driver still without a win. After a largely dry qualifying session, the heavens open up for the first of the weekend's races. Albacete was fastest in Superpole, but Hahn, serving a 3-place grid penalty for a collision at Donington Park, has to start from 5th on the grid. OK, then ready for the rolling start. Very wet conditions here at the Nürburgring. The red lights go out. The race gets underway. To the left of the picture, that's Antonio Albacete. Right behind him now with one of the Renault drivers, Marcus Osterreich. David Vysecki on the outside, getting passed by 2 or 3 trucks. It's Albacete that makes it into the lead of the race. Adam Lacko is second in track number 3. Then it was Osterreich in the other Renault, number 4, running in 3rd place. David Vysecki, the former champion, track number 5, is in 4th place. Then it's number 6, Marcus Boesinger. So we've got 3 of the Renaults in the top 5. Then in 6th place, it's Jochen Hahn, the reigning champion. You're on board with Jochen now. He goes wide, runs off the track, 2 wheels, almost onto the grass there, loses his traction. He was trying to get past Boesinger. He doesn't do it, and in fact, they're both about to get passed now by Anthony Janiak, number 10, the white truck there, the white Renault truck. Down the inside, he picks up 2 places there, opportunistic driving. And now Jochen Hahn, having lost 2 places, he's trying to get one of them back here, trying to get back alongside Boesinger. They're still absolutely side by side here. The defending champion knows how to make a move stick though. He's run through 2-3 corners now, and eventually he gets the line and gets his nose back ahead. So dramatic stuff here at the Nürburgring for race 2. Now what's this, a replay? René Reinert to the left in the blue truck, going around the outside of Ludovic 4, but he doesn't make it. Ludovic runs into the side of him, and Ludovic, well, on a wet track, was always going to slip wide, wasn't he, into the corner, so it's probably a bit ambitious from René Reinert. That will put him right down the order. On board with Marcus Osterreich, sliding his way toward the gravel trap. At turn 1, he spins. It's a big runoff area, so it doesn't quite make it as far as the gravel trap. He was in 3rd place. These two are trying to pick up that position, but they're battering each other. David Vysecki just losing it under braking. It's so much surface water. He's side by side with Janiak. Then you've got Jochen Hahn behind them, so that's become the battle for 3rd place there, as we saw Osterreich trying to rejoin the circuit. David Vysecki has got the position just about from Anthony Janiak. But again, it's so hard to slow these 5.5-ton trucks down with such a lack of adhesion on the circuit. Janiak now fights back down the inside and gets back through. On board with Adam Lacko, he's second, but he's trying to get the lead of the race because he's right on the tail of Antonio Albacete in the red number 2 truck. Looking back from Albacete now. Down the gears they go, on towards turn 1. They're still absolutely neck and neck. Adam Lacko, the Czech driver, down the inside, breathe in, just about makes it through. May have been a slight bit of contact, but Albacete is a very, very fair driver, and he let him go. So Adam Lacko into the lead of the race, and looking for his first race victory of the season. He finished 3rd in the championship last year. In fact, he's twice finished 3rd in the championship. Coming into the closing stages now. This is the battle for 3rd place, David Vysecki. Then in 4th place now, we've got Jochen Hahn. He's got ahead of Anthony Janiak. On board with Hahn. Look at this for a piece of late braking on the way into the right hand of the final corner off of the lap. Looks like he's made it stick. Top 2 run through. Albacete, who's Hahn's main championship rival, will be his next target, but there's not much time left in the race. So Hahn up to 3rd place. There's another good battle going on further down the order. Inside the points though, as number 27, Gerd Korber, fires one down the inside of Mika Mäkinen. This is the 3-time European champion, Gerd Korber, who's retired from racing 2 years ago. He's in his late 40s now, but he's come back for a one-off to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Grand Prix here at the Nürburgring, and he's lost none of his fighting spirit. Mäkinen wasn't too pleased, but he's had to give second best. Here, though, is the flag, and it's Adam Lacko who takes his first race victory of the season, with Albacete in 2nd place. So it's Adam Lacko who masters the difficult conditions to become the 7th different winner of the season. Meanwhile, Antonio Albacete's 2nd place finish moves him into the championship lead, while Jochen Hahn completes the podium. Vysecki, Mäkinen and Korber round out the top 6. And with a reverse top 6 grid for race 2, it's Korba who starts the next encounter from pole, while Albacete and Hahn have to try and fight their way through from further down the grid. Adam Lacko tackled the wet conditions brilliantly to win race 1, but this time the greasy track catches him out. And his 5.5-ton truck careers off the road. Despite later rejoining, he's only able to finish 10th. There was drama too for Anthony Janiak. The Frenchman taps the back of Vasecki, which sends the number 5 truck ploughing into the back of Dominic Lachaise, while the three of them are battling for second place. As a result of the incident, Vasecki goes on to retire with damage. Janiak, though, is able to continue and goes on to finish in 6th place. Passing all three of them to climb from 5th to 2nd was the red MAN of Antonio Albacete. Having survived that, Dominic Lachaise later had this moment at the very same corner. Under steering straight on at turn 1, he ends up in the barriers, with the black truck of Mika Mäkinen also coming to grief. The worsening conditions then catch out 2 more drivers. And all of this is enough to persuade the officials to bring out the red flags. On the restart, Albacete quickly moves ahead of Gerd Korba, but with the aggregate time from both parts of the race determining the final result, he then has to build up a winning lead. Hahn also moves ahead of Korba and up to 2nd place on the road, but on aggregate times, the reigning champion is in fact still behind Korba. Albacete goes on to take the flag and wins part 2 of the race by more than enough to give him the overall win, his 6th victory of the season. Korba and Hahn complete the podium, while Mäkinen, Ostrijk and Janiak conclude the top 6. The rain finally cleared by day 2, but there was no light relief for Dominic Lachaise as the Frenchman careered off the road. And right behind him, Marcus Boesinger did the same thing, hitting the barrier hard. The replay confirming that firstly, there was no contact between Lachaise and Boesinger, and secondly, that the track was still somewhat slippery. The incident brought out the red flags, but happily both men were completely uninjured. Another short rain shower during the interval didn't help matters, and on the restart, René Reinert became the latest driver to fall foul of the chicane. Meanwhile, a flawless drive from Jochen Hahn saw the German build up a commanding lead. His chief title rival, Antonio Albacete, had originally qualified on pole, but was then penalised for exceeding the maximum speed limit, and instead had to fight his way up from 10th place. A great comeback, though, saw Albacete climb all the way up to 3rd place, just half a second behind David Vasecki. A troublesome weekend finally looked set to improve for Dominic Lachaise when, taking advantage of the reverse grid, he moved into the lead of race 4, but he wasn't able to keep Marcus Ostrijk at bay, and the big Renault came through at mid-distance. Race 3 winner Jochen Hahn was now charged with the task of progressing from 8th on the grid. Having quickly dispatched of below-par Albacete, his next real test was to find a way past former champion David Vasecki. This textbook move did the trick, and Hahn moved up to 4th. The home crowd wouldn't see any further progress for their hero, but there would be another German victory as Marcus Ostrijk held off Dominic Lachaise to take his first win of the season. So a real mixed bag of results with 4 different race winners. But overall, it's Hahn who takes the most from the weekend, extending his championship advantage over Albacete from 2 to 7 points. Coming up next, one of the world's most famous endurance races as a huge field of sports car drivers take on the challenge of the Spa 24 Hours. We'll see you after the break.
The prestigious 24 Hours of Spa race was also the 4th round of the 2012 Blancpain Endurance Series. And off the line, the pole position BMW of Frank Kechler lost out to the Marc VDS Racing Team BMW Z4 of Maxime Martin that had started in 2nd position as they made their way over the crest of the hill and up towards Les Combes for the first time. There was great battling throughout the order. There on board with Andre Lotterer as he sees the action kick off in front of him. Over 60 cars took the start of the race, so it was all set to be a very busy 24 hours out there on the circuit. The 2 Ferraris battling as they came through Eau Rouge, and 2 Porsches doing battle up into Les Combes. The 75 Porsche that we'd seen perform so strongly earlier on in the season, making a move there. There was contact early on though. Coming into the right-hander at Stabilo, the number 14 Mercedes was pushed into the gravel. They managed to restart their race though. But then there was contact on the way into the pit lane. One of the McLarens trying to cut across. We're on board with Andre Lotterer as it happens. Lotterer moves to the left to try and take the racing line. The McLaren tries to dive across into the pit lane and ends up in the wall. But moving strongly early on was the pole position 66 car of Frank Kekler. He just managed to avoid getting involved in some incidents in front of him between some back markers. And it was 3 abreast at one point going up into Les Comps. The number 2 Audi just about avoiding contact. Those two couldn't avoid contact down at the hairpin at Ravage. Some great side-by-side racing through Eau Rouge. Again, the number 2 car of Laurence Vanthor coming out on top. But also one to watch in this race was going to be the number 16 Audi Sport Performance R8 of Piccini, Rast and Stippler. You can see just how busy it was out there on the circuit. This is down into the Fagnes chicane. There's a McLaren up in front. And finding your way past slower traffic was always going to be a challenge. The number 33 car, the Pro GT by Almeras car, had a rather fiery incident. Antoine Leclerc was at the wheel of the Porsche as it came into the pits with the rear end on fire. Luckily, it was put out, and it would have been put out if it had stayed out on circuit, because it wasn't long before the rain came and chaos ensued at La Source. 5 or 6 cars getting caught out by the aquaplaning, and the dangerous conditions subsequently meant that the safety car was brought out for quite a long period of time, because you can see how hard the rain was coming down. That's a more appropriate sport for this weather. But the rain started to clear and the race was restarted once again. Safety car pulled into the pits, and leading the way was René Rast in his Audi R8. Whilst everyone else squabbled for the positions behind as the evening drew in. Into the pits came the number 3 Mark VDS Racing Team car, Marcus Pautala handing over to Bas Leinders. And there was the number 1 Belgian Audi Team WRT car, Stefano Telli at the wheel, in the car he shares with Christopher Haas and Christopher Mize. Bas Leinders out there on the circuit, doing a good job. A large shunt for one of the Porsches on the exit of Blanchimont, and that was the first of a few large shunts we'd see throughout the course of the 24 hours. You can see just how difficult it is making overtaking manoeuvres as the darkness began to fall at Spa. The safety car was brought out again thanks to more heavy rain. The weather conditions really very closely associated with the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Rain was expected over the course of the weekend, but nowhere near to this level. So the race got back underway, but this time darkness had well and truly come. There was close battling throughout the field. And as the firework displays went off, that was one of the few light sources out there on the circuit. You can see here coming down the back straight just how difficult it is to see anything. And unsurprisingly, there were a few incidents in the night. Everyone, though, made it through relatively unscathed. A bit of contact here at La Source, but both cars were able to continue. Even though one of them lost the wheel, they were only a few yards from the pit lane. But still leading the way was that number 16 Audi of René Rast at the wheel, with the number 3 Mark VDS Racing Team car of Maxime Martin in second place. You can see the kind of visibility the drivers were faced with, but everything became a lot clearer in the light of day. But there was drama for the 16 leading car. It came in with a rear left puncture, but managed to get out, still in contention for the race win. There was a left rear wheel loss for one of the Porsches. And then coming into the chicane, a bit of an oversteery moment was comfortably saved by the Haribo Racing Team. The number 3 Mark VDS car came into the pits again. And there was a bit of a moment at the top of Les Comps. for the number 71 Ferrari. But Daniel Zampieri was able to hold on to it on that occasion. One of the Pro-Am Lamborghinis had to make a pit stop, the car of Hayek and Peter Cox. And after another safety car period, the racing got back underway once more. It was very congested in the mid-pack. Some of these cars racing each other on the same lap. Some of them were a lap down, which made it very difficult to figure out how to best attack. There was a mistake up at Les Combes for the front-running number 1 Belgian Audi club, WRT. Stefano Telli not losing too much time ultimately after that small mistake at the top of the hill, but still the car to catch was the number 16 Audi, who was pushing very hard indeed, as you just saw there on the exit of La Source. There's a few harmless spins further back in the pack, and the Mark VDS team were struggling to keep awake. It had been a long night for everyone. A spin towards the back for the number 2 Belgian Audi Club car, Edward Sandstrom losing the rear end on the exit, but the team thought there was possibly a problem with the car, but they managed to get it back out, but the problem again reared its head at the top of Eau Rouge. A big accident at the top of Eau Rouge forced the number 2 car out of the race after a difficult 20 hours. Again, the safety car had to come out whilst the damage was repaired to the tyre wall. And a few teams opted to make their pit stops under the safety car conditions. After that pit stop, the 16 car had dropped behind the number 1 Audi, but it wasn't long before Frank Stippler managed to retake the lead of the race, getting past Christopher Mize up the inside into the Fagnes chicane. And the 52 AF Corsa Ferrari 458 Italia was running strongly in the top 5, as was the pole-sitting car of Lauda, Franchi and Kekler. The battle continued for the number 1 car as they tried to hold on to their podium position, and there was a spectacular exit for one of the Ferraris. The Kessel Racing car of Daniel Zampieri retiring from the race. The driver was absolutely fine after that high-speed impact. And again, the safety car came out, and it was a very, very late decision for Christopher Haas to come into the pit lane. A bit of drama for the Lamborghini with the front right puncture, but they managed to recover. But still out there on the circuit was Bottolini in his 52 Ferrari. But the checkered flag fell to create an Audi R8 1-2 at the Spa 24 Hours. Pacini, Rast and Stippler in the number 16 Audi Sport R8 took the victory ahead of Christopher Haas, Christopher Mize and Stefano Telli in the Belgian Audi Club Team WRT Audi R8 LMS. Matthias Lauda, Greg Franchi and Frank Kekler finished the race in 3rd place in the pole-sitting Viva One racing team, and just pushed over the line was the Ford Mustang of De Crème, Close and Benjamin Bailly. But it was celebrations for Audi, who won the 24 Hours of Spa in the hands of Pacini, Rast and Stippler, with one lone BMW completing the top 3.
Up next, Grand Prix winner Nico Rosberg shows us that it's not just on track where Formula One develops the latest in technology.
This is my race suit. It's the one major piece of protection I have in the case of a fire. These race overalls are mandatory in Formula One, and they're far more technical than they look. Back in 1954, Silver Arrows driver Juan Marion Fangio raced in an ordinary cotton suit. Safety was not really thought about back then.
Until Niki Lauda's horrible accident in 1976, no one really thought about fire safety seriously. Afterwards, fireproof race overalls became compulsory in F1. Developed in the space race, they were made from several layers. Things have progressed even further since then. The suits are made out of Nomex, which is a strong weave of protective synthetic fibres. Dr. Wilfred Sweeney, a Scottish scientist, was mainly involved in the development of Nomex in 1967. Since then, his dedication has saved the lives of countless firefighters, pilots, and of course racing drivers.
The race overalls now withstand temperatures of 1000 degrees centigrade, which is hotter than burning fuel, and they have to pass some pretty serious tests to be accepted by the FIA. My overalls are about 3 layers thick, and they have to protect me from first degree burning for about 11 seconds. Just to give you an idea, a decent athlete needs about 11 seconds to run 100 meters, which is not much time at all. If things go wrong, my race overall is the one thing that can protect me.